All right, this looks like I'm about to start a lingerie line, but it's not. Uh, so obviously, everyone knows high performance human focuses lean in the mirror, strong in your body, sexy in your skin. Um, we already talked about CDE a little bit. There has been something that I've wanted to discuss with you guys, and definitely want you guys to pop in if you have any questions, even like during this. Um, where we kind of do a Q&A and why are we here. A lot of times we focus on intensity and we skip over consistency, or we focus on consistency and we skip over like intensity. And there's levels to this thing, right? There's levels to fitness. There's levels to awareness. There's levels to mental programming, mindset. But consistency is something we preach all the time. I mean, every time you hear me, I'm definitely going to say CDE. Brooke's probably going to be the same way. And like this is one thing, like one program we want to instill constantly, make sure that that program is running properly, like every single day. Because the more consistent we are in something, obviously that's also where we have inertia. We have inertia, we have momentum. But when it comes to consistency, everyone knows about CDE. And you wake up, weigh, or wake up, pee, weigh, log that body weight every single day. You hit your food targets of calories, protein within those calories. You hit your training every day. You mark it off that you did it, your steps, and your bi-weekly pictures and measurements. And I will pause here and just say biweekly pictures and measurements are non-optional. Can you push them to the next day or something? Yes, totally fine. But the next day becomes the next day, and the next day becomes the next day. And this is data, this is information that we need to be able to take the next step in your program. So I would definitely say to, if you haven't been emphasizing that, to emphasize that a little bit more in your program, because we do have some people that, like, one, either come in and they'll, their initial pictures and measurements will be there, and then we haven't seen them post anything for, a month. That makes things pretty tricky for us to know what's happening. But I don't feel like most people on this call, and definitely most people in HPH, as much as we preach this and as hardcore as we are about CDE, I don't feel like most people have any problem with being consistent. Um, but what happens when like that consistency is on point and it's almost to the point where it kind of is getting maybe not necessarily, the most thrilling thing. Like these days, consistency, rocking it out. Um, there's a place where consistency can feel a bit stagnant, right? And that's when we want to harness that power of that your consistency, like your superpower of being consistent and your consistent daily execution with intensity. So when consistency meets intensity, like this is next level, like then it is on, right? And we talk about intensity. This isn't something we talk about a lot in high performance human, definitely in the 16-week side, because we want to really focus in on consistency, right? A lot of times we can get banged for the buck with just showing up and knocking things out of the park just by checking off your CDE every day. But definitely in the case of your like training, intensity matters. Like intensity matters. If you're following your training program and it says 3 sets of 5 reps and you rock out that third set and that 5th rep feels like nothing, a couple things going on. One, you haven't sent the proper signal to your muscles to be able to start breaking down to send the signal to the protein to start repairing and growing those muscles. Two, you're just moving weight for the sake of moving weight. So there's this fine line of intensity when you're training and training properly, that you could be using too little weight, or you could be using too much weight. And it sounds weird, and there's some people that will push back against this, but it's absolute truth. Because whenever you're using too little weight, you're not sending the proper response or the proper signal for the response that we require to the muscles. Two, when you're using too much weight, you're moving weight for the sake of moving weight, but you're not able to keep the proper muscles under tension, typically because you can't hold form, right? And if your form isn't held and you can't with 100% certainty know that each repetition looks just like the last one and those reps are perfect, then you're compromising not only form, but you're opening that margin for error. And error, we're talking about injury, which is nothing any of us want. I've had a few of them. I hate them. They suck. But when it comes to training program, does like what you guys are following right now consistently, do you feel like the intensity is like right where it needs to be, or do you feel like this is something that you could push yourself a little bit more on? I'm not necessarily asking if you feel like you're moving like enough weight, as much as you're moving enough weight to feel like that intensity, or I would even say to that point of getting close to failure. Obviously, what kind of call would this be if we didn't talk about mental programming or mindset? But when it comes to like intensity of mindset, I like to flip that around a little bit. Like we're talking about, taking time, just 5 minutes out of the day to focus on like just being grateful, being expressing, gratitude. That's a time that we can also immerse into what we want, like our desire. And like that, what we talked about, was it three or 4 weeks ago, where you take that time to express gratitude, to exercise gratitude, and to zoom into, right? There's sometimes where we're zooming out, but this is the time to zoom in and get granular with the gratitude that you are writing down or just thinking about, whatever. But you're also immersing yourself in like your desire, in your future, in your future, like that you want, right? What winning looks like is like what we talked about last week. And that's an intense experience for some people, because that's also something that presses them into a place that feels weird, because they've never really done that. Like we can all say like, oh man, I really want this thing. This would be awesome if I had it. But we have some resistance to taking time and immersing ourselves in actually like having that thing, what that would look like, programming future memories, right? So I don't want to miss the time to definitely pull in some mindset stuff, some mental programming. Now, when it comes to consistency and intensity, and we're seeing great results from what we're doing, there's one thing that is also required. And this sounds weird, and I probably am going to get some resistance on this, or you're going to feel some internal resistance to this. But if you don't have a reward set for your goal, right? Whatever your goal is, if you don't have a reward set for that, and you just have this grind mentality of, okay, what I've got is great, but it's not where I want to be, and I just need to push and push and push toward that. Unless you have some type of reward set for yourself, an experience that you want to have, something you want to buy for yourself, whatever, I would 100% say this should be 100% for you. Other people can enjoy it, but it is 100% for you. Two, if you feel some resistance to this, and there's some internal resistance to giving yourself a reward, reaching a goal, I would ask yourself why. So does anyone have any like milestones that they have a reward set for? Say uh, getting into some pants that are hanging in, like jeans that are hanging in a closet, or giving yourself a reward of buying like a new dress or something whenever you lose this much weight, or whenever you're this size waist, or whatever. And I can tell you that if you feel any resistance to this, just ask yourself why you feel resistance to it. And as much as you've given yourself permission to pursue what you want, you have to give yourself permission to reward yourself along the journey.
So I don't have resistance against this, but this is new to me because I've never thought of buying myself something. It's always been, what food am I going to treat myself with?
Mm, mm-hmm. Okay.
Which
Yeah.
is like, you talking about this, I'm like, what? I can buy myself stuff. I don't know. It's just like a totally new concept because I've always been like, oh, I lost 10 pounds. Let me go stuff my face for the day and, get back at it. But then, you keep on doing that. And eventually, all the weight that you lost, you had back on because my mindset never changed.
Right. And it's so easy for us to think of a reward as food, or food as a
Mm-hmm.
reward, that when we shift that to something else, say your reward is going to get a massage or having a spa day or something, like that's going to be so much better than a banana split. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm. Like,
Uh,
I'm actually getting really excited now.
yeah, you should. A reward should excite you. But whenever you can detach yourself from that and pull away from food being a reward for a milestone, and you can make that an experience or an actual material thing. Uh, that's what should, and like what you said, Karen, is like that's what should get you excited.
I think for me, I've like struggled with this. Like I had a little resistance towards it because I feel like you were always saying like material things, and I don't have a strong desire for like certain material things, but the experiences that resonates with me because I feel like that's something I can get behind,